The 2026 World Cup is here. New heroes, new stories, new moments that'll get replayed for the next 30 years. But while everyone's watching what's happening on the pitch right now, there are 5 stories from World Cup history that almost nobody talks about anymore. A player who had a seizure and was still made to play in the final. A referee who turned out to be exactly who everyone suspected. A trophy that was stolen and never found. A handball that changed the course of history for reasons that had nothing to do with football. And a curse that has swallowed every single World Cup champion for over 60 years without a single exception. This is Offside Stories. Let's get into it. Nobody talks about what happened the night before the 1998 World Cup final. It's June 12th, 1998, Paris, the Stade de France. Brazil versus France, World Cup final. Ronaldo, at that point arguably the most dominant footballer on the planet, is in the starting 11. This is his tournament. His moment. The whole of Brazil has been building to this for 4 years. Then the team sheet changes. His name is gone. Then it changes back. He's in. Brazil lose 3-0. Ronaldo barely touches the ball. For a player who'd been unstoppable for the entire tournament, he looked like a completely different person. Disconnected. Like he didn't know where he was. The story that came out afterwards was that Ronaldo had suffered a convulsive fit in his hotel room the night before. His roommate found him on the floor. His teammates were terrified. The team doctor reportedly told coaching staff he should not play, and yet he played. Here's the part that gets quietly left out of the official story. Nike had an enormous commercial deal with Ronaldo at the time, worth somewhere in the region of $100 million. Brazil's national team also had a sponsorship arrangement with Nike. Several people inside the Brazilian camp have, over the years, suggested that commercial pressure, not medical clearance, was the reason Ronaldo was put back on that team sheet. Nike denied any involvement in team selection. Brazil's Football Federation denied it. FIFA never investigated. Ronaldo himself has told the story differently in at least 3 separate interviews over the years. In some versions, it was stress. In others, a more serious neurological episode. The details shift. What doesn't shift is this. A player who had collapsed the night before was put on the biggest stage in football. Brazil lost their worst World Cup final in history, and nobody who made that call has ever properly explained it. 28 years later, we still don't know the full truth of what happened in that Paris hotel room. The referee who knocked Italy out of the 2002 World Cup was later arrested at JFK Airport with 6 kilos of heroin strapped to his body. The 2002 World Cup was co-hosted by South Korea and Japan. South Korea reached the semi-finals, the first Asian nation ever to do so. It was historic, remarkable, and depending on who you ask, not entirely earned. Quarter-final, Italy versus South Korea. Referee, Byron Moreno of Ecuador. What followed is still one of the most debated refereeing performances in World Cup history. A legitimate Italian goal disallowed. A penalty given to South Korea that virtually no analyst looking back at it believes was a penalty. And Francesco Totti, one of Italy's most important players, sent off in extra time for simulation. A decision so controversial it ended the game as a contest. Italy were out. South Korea were through. The Italian press went nuclear. FIFA said they would investigate. Other national associations raised formal complaints. Nothing happened. The result stood. Now here's where the story goes somewhere nobody expected. 2010, 8 years later, JFK Airport, New York. Byron Moreno is stopped by US Customs. 6 kilograms of heroin, strapped directly to his body underneath his clothing. He was arrested, charged, convicted, and sentenced to 2.5 years in a United States federal prison. The man who refereed Italy out of the World Cup turned out to be exactly the kind of person that Italy always suspected he might be. The 2002 result still stands. Italy never got their rematch. Their question was never answered, and Byron Moreno served his time and walked out of prison, while that quarter-final result remained in the record books forever. Every World Cup trophy you've ever seen is a replica. The real one was stolen and almost certainly melted down. The Jules Rimet trophy, named after the FIFA president who created the World Cup. Solid gold, or at least gold-plated over a core of other metals. A small statuette of Nike, the Greek goddess of victory, holding up a vessel. It was the World Cup trophy from 1930 until 1970. The physical object that passed through the hands of Pelé, Di Stefano and Bobby Moore. It was stolen twice. The first time was 1966. 4 months before England hosted the tournament, the trophy was taken from a stamp exhibition in Westminster. The Metropolitan Police launched a full investigation. Nothing. Then, a week later, a dog named Pickles was out for a walk in South Norwood, South London. He sniffed at something under a bush, wrapped in newspaper, the Jules Rimet trophy. England won the tournament. Everyone laughed about Pickles. The trophy went back in the cabinet. 1970. Brazil win their 3rd World Cup. Under the rules at the time, a nation that wins the tournament 3 times keeps the trophy permanently. The Jules Rimet trophy is handed to the Brazilian Football Confederation and stays in Rio de Janeiro. It's stolen again, this time from the CBF headquarters in Rio. A professional job. No signs of forced entry, no witnesses, no leads. No arrests were ever made. The investigation went cold within months. Metal experts who have examined the case over the years have a consistent view. The most likely outcome is that the trophy was melted down for its gold value within days of the theft. A fence for stolen metal wouldn't know or care what it was. What you see today in every museum, every display cabinet, every photograph taken after 1983 is a replica. The original Jules Rimet trophy, the one Bobby Moore held at Wembley in 1966, the one Pelé lifted in Mexico in 1970, is almost certainly gone, destroyed, reduced to raw material. And FIFA quietly moved on and never made much of it. The hand of God wasn't about cheating, it was about a war. June 22nd, 1986, Mexico City, the Azteca Stadium, Argentina versus England, World Cup quarter-final. 4 years after the Falklands War, in which soldiers from both countries had died, the most politically charged football match in history. Maradona said afterwards it was, quote, a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. But the real story of why that goal stood has never been properly told. The referee that day was Ali bin Nasser of Tunisia. He was positioned behind the play. His linesman, from the Soviet Union, had a direct sightline and said nothing. Think about what that referee was standing in the middle of. 100,000 people in the Azteca Stadium, overwhelmingly behind Argentina. A politically explosive match between two nations that had been in armed conflicts less than 4 years earlier. Overturning that goal in that stadium on that day was not a simple sporting decision. It was a decision with an atmosphere behind it that very few officials in any sport have ever had to navigate. Did Ali bin Nasser make the wrong call? Almost certainly yes. But the conversation about that goal almost never includes the context that made giving it the path of least resistance. The hand of God wasn't a moment of cheating. It was a moment at the intersection of sport, war, politics, and the limits of what one official can be asked to do. Name the last team to defend the World Cup. You can't, because it hasn't happened since before the moon landing. Here's a question. Name the last team to successfully defend the World Cup. Take a moment. It was Brazil, 1958 and 1962, back to back. That was 64 years ago. Since then, not a single team has successfully defended the title. And since 2002, it's become something beyond a pattern. It's become almost mechanical. France win in 1998. 2002, group stage. They don't score a single goal. Italy win in 2006, 2010 group stage, Spain win in 2010, 2014 group stage, Germany win in 2014, 2018 group stage, France win in 2018, 2022 group stage, 5 consecutive tournaments, 5 defending champions, 5 group stage exits, every single one. The logical explanations exist, and they're real. Every other team studies the champions obsessively. Key players retire or decline between tournaments. The mental weight of defending a title is different from chasing one. Tactical systems that won a World Cup get picked apart over 4 years by analysts around the world. All of that is true, but 5 in a row with that level of consistency goes beyond what pure tactical analysis comfortably explains. France in 2022 had arguably a stronger squad than the one that won in 2018. They went out in the group stage. The World Cup has a way of humbling the people who think they already understand it. And as the 2026 tournament reaches its later stages, whatever team lifts that trophy in the final will know that their biggest challenge isn't their next opponent, it's what comes 4 years later. 5 story. 5 moments where football showed you the official version and the real version was somewhere underneath it. Ronaldo's seizure, a referee with heroin strapped to his body, a trophy that was melted down and replaced with a fake, a handball that was really about a war, and a curse that nobody has broken in 64 years. The 2026 World Cup is writing new stories right now. Some of them won't be told properly for another 20 years. This channel is here for all of it. Subscribe, there's a lot more where this came from.